I'm Rebecca, I'm from BizCrowd, so welcome to the BizCrowd Theatre. I'm really pleased to introduce Skip Fidura. He is the Client Services Director for Mailer. He has over 20 years experience in e-commerce, so he's very well placed to be telling you about email marketing campaigns and how you stack up against some of the world's biggest players. He's also the chairman of the Email Marketing Council for the DMA, so really pleased to introduce Skip, and I'll hand you over now. Hopefully you have a really enjoyable presentation. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Thanks, Rebecca. How's everybody doing this morning? Isn't Excel the best place to get to on a Tuesday morning? Hoorah. Excellent. Well, apologies for this delayed start. Slight technical glitch with the technical stuff. We're off to a great start, aren't we? But I've promised the organizers I'll get us back on track. So if you don't mind, I think I'll just crack on. It's also a little weird. Usually I walk around, but I don't think I can. So, hey-ho. Right. So, every year, Mailer runs a analysis of the top high street retailers. What we're looking for is how easy is it to sign up? What do they do after you've signed up? And what's the aftercare around their email program? For the first time this year, we included both UK and US retailers. And there are some interesting comparisons that we'll talk about. But the key takeaway for me was the average score was a 73. Now, I don't really understand the British educational system, but I can tell you that in the American educational system, that's a low C. That's pretty poor, what everybody's doing. And we're not talking about small retailers. We're not talking about mom and pop shops. We are talking, as you'll see, about some of the top brands. So if you're not one of those top brands, if you're thinking, I'll never be able to compete, I'll never be able to keep up, the answer is you can and you will. These guys are spending loads and loads and loads of cash on email. They're just not spending it well. So if you can spend it smartly, take the best practices from each of these that we're going to talk about, combine that into one nice program, you'll easily overtake them. The couple of the other takeaways for me: mobile. Everybody's got a smartphone. A number of you are on it, tweeting, whatever. Why aren't more email marketers embracing mobile? On average, people read their email on a mobile device at 6 times a day. My favorite mobile stat, you don't see this one very often, 39% of UK smartphone owners will admit to taking their smartphone with them into the toilet and using it. How many more than that are doing it but won't admit it, right? So 2 things from that: don't ever borrow somebody's phone, because that's just gross. And 2, you got to go to where they are, and if they're in the toilet, that's where you got to go. Right. So first thing we need to talk about is how are people getting a sign up, and this is a brilliant example from Marks and Spencer. First of all, they're asking for kind of the right amount of detail. You don't want to ask too much because you'll get dropouts. You don't want to ask too little because it's the best opportunity you're going to get to collect data. But the other thing they're doing, okay, work with me on this. At the bottom, they're showing you what their email program looks like. You can click on each one of those and view the most recent newsletter or the most recent communication in that program. That's brilliant. You can go in, you can pick exactly what you want as a reader, as a registrant. You can pick exactly what you want to receive. The other thing is it is relatively painless to do this. It was, I want to say, EasyJet, if memory serves, 7 steps in their sign-up process. 7 steps before they'll send you an email newsletter. There are fewer steps to buy a ticket. Okay, once you've got that email address, now what are you going to do? Usually I have something to hand out, but since I can't walk around, what's the one thing everybody does when you get handed something? You say thank you. It's the simplest thing. One of the challenges with email and all digital communications is the human element's gone, right? It's very impersonal. You can add some humanity. back into your program. You can add some humanity back into your brand. And actually, we're going to talk later about actually adding real humanity into your email program that reflects your brand. But just say thank you, right? Somebody's just given you their email details. Somebody's just bought something. Say thank you. This is a brilliant email example from Saks Fifth Avenue in the U.S. They don't say thank you once, they say it 3 times. And the first thing they've done here is they've told you, first off, you're going to get 3 emails. So they've set that expectation. In the first email, they remind you why you signed up, and more importantly, they say thank you, and they give you a little offer to get you shopping. That's what they want, right? You've given them your details, they want you to buy something. So a nice little offer to get that going. It's not too in your face. The second email, again, reinforces why did the person sign up. These are all the benefits of being part of this email program. And then the third email, how do you stay in touch with us? How do you stay engaged? So this is a really, really nice program. It gently gets somebody into Saks's email communications. I always, as I say, email has taken humanity out of marketing. You no longer have that shop assistant in the shop that you can use to kind of put a face to your brand. And we have to do that as marketers. Email is a great way to do that. But you've got to be very careful, right? We've all met somebody at a party or at a pub. They've asked too many questions, right? Or they've told us way too much information about themselves. Just as an aside, I've been reviewing some CVs, and somebody puts some personal details on their CV about some tragedy in their family, which is very heart-wrenching. But wow, not on the CV. I don't know you at all. Right? And I didn't even interview her. Right? And you've got the same problem. If you push too hard, if you jump right into a promotional thing, right into a sell, right into here's all our products, it's too much. It's too fast. It's too in your face. A bit too American, really. Okay. After the follow-up, you got to set a promise, and you got to stick to that promise. Now, I know it's early, and probably nobody's hungry yet, but I want you all to look at this salad. Now imagine it's August. It's the one day in August when it's actually hot in England. I've lived here 13 years, so I'm not just picking on England because without experience. Look at that salad. Isn't that salad beautiful? Look at those tomatoes. Really, really succulent tomatoes. You can see there's just a hint of a dressing on there, some basil sprinkled over the top. Isn't that a beautiful salad? It's a great salad. What's brilliant about Williams-Sonoma, this comes out in their first email. Every email after that, they deliver on that visual promise, right? They've promised now, they've set out a stall, we are going to deliver great imagery, and they do in every email. One of the things that allows them to do is stop worrying about things like the balance of imagery to text, because they've set out this promise, we're going to deliver great images, you want your images switched on for our emails. This is another interesting example of building, it's about building credibility here with Macy's. There are a couple things, I don't know if you can see it, but at the bottom, this email is signed by their president. And at the very bottom, they give you an address, president@macys.com. Okay, now, rationally, I know that Kent Anderson did not write this email, probably doesn't know anything about this email. But in the heat of the moment, when I'm reading that, I'm like, wow, I just got an email from the president of Macy's. And not only that, I've got his details. If my order goes wrong, I can go right to the top to get it solved. None of this calling the call center and talking to somebody offshore who doesn't speak English. I got his details. Instant credibility. The other thing they've done that's really nice is, I'm going to have to go over here again. I feel like a flight attendant. We call that pre-header text. And what's brilliant, if you've got an iPhone, open up your iPhone, go in the inbox. You'll see 10 to 15 characters of the subject line. And then you'll see 2 lines of text. That's the first text that the email comes to. Instead of having, oh, can't read this, click here, want to unsubscribe, as the first thing that the iPhone gets to, they've actually made an extension of the subject line by putting in the offer. Makes it much more enticing for somebody to open the email when they're looking at it just in their inbox. Outlook, by the way, does the exact same thing if you've got the couple of line preview set up in your Outlook. I've included this slide. I appreciate it's slightly dated, but it's another great way to build credibility and also get people interacting with your brand. And it's a little hard to see, I appreciate, but in the top right-hand corner here, what they've done is they've put instructions, not generic instructions, of how to get their email into your inbox, how to make sure as a recipient their email is going to go to your inbox. They've put the specific instructions for Gmail, and this was sent to a Gmail account. So they used a little bit of dynamic content to add relevance, to recognize what platform the customer is using, and then give them the details that they need. Okay, back to imagery. Also over to the UK. I didn't want you to think we were only going to have US examples. So I don't know what this thing is that John Lewis is selling, but it looks cool and I want one. When I first got this email, I'm like, that's awesome. I need one of those. Turns out I don't have a back garden, so I don't know where I'd put it exactly. And then I showed it to my wife, and she said, "You want a space pod?" I mean, it looks like the escape thing from Escape from New York, the President's Escape Pod. But it's cool, strong imagery, right? But of course, that's not for everybody. So they've put a nice balance in of other things, so that if I'm not going to get the space pod, there's other stuff for me to interact with, because they don't know much about me. Now, hopefully, once I've interacted, they won't include the space pod next time, right? If I click on the barbecue, maybe they'll hone in on what I want to receive. One of the things that we talk about a lot is how limited and limiting email is creatively. Well, some of that is down to our own making. A bit of it is kind of a myth that we've perpetuated. A few years ago, Outlook changed how it rendered HTML. Microsoft, in its wisdom, decided, you know what? We built this thing called Internet Explorer, but we don't want to use that to render HTML. That would be silly. We'll use Word. Right. One of the byproducts of that is animated GIFs stopped working in Outlook. Guess what? They work at loads of other places. We shouldn't have given up on them, and we did as an industry. You very rarely see them anymore, and they can be really, really powerful. This is an example from Joy. They've got 3 kind of silly little things to sell for Father's Day. Not sure what you're going to be interested in, so by putting it in an animated GIF, it gives them an extra couple of chances to get you interested, get you to click through. But, obviously, as we know, images can be a challenge. So, obviously, the email on the left is this next email with images switched off. Now, they've done a couple things wrong. The biggest thing is they haven't included alt text. Now, I'm not going to be able to hear you, but I want you to go back to that salad. What was the salad? It was tomato salad. What kind of herb did it have on it? What's that? Basil. That's right. Now, if I had just said to you guys, there's a picture of a salad, and moved on, you'd have no idea what was on the salad. You wouldn't have known it was tomato. You wouldn't have remembered that it was basil. I forgot to describe the dressing in detail, so I wasn't going to ask a question about the dressing. Alt text can help you deliver that. Describe what the picture is in detail. Don't let your HTML coder write it, because they're going to write picture of salad, right? That's what they're trained to do. Get your copywriter to write it. Now, a couple other things. If you look in the top left-hand corner here of this next, the images off version, next logo, okay, that's probably some custom type, some sort of custom font, but it doesn't have to be. You could put that in as, I don't know, Arial, maybe? Close enough. You can style that alt text that is up in the left-hand corner, which is right now just a nice light blue, right? Style it. Make it bigger. Make it black. Make it bold. it will look like the logo. If you've got a picture in your logo, no, you can't include the picture. But you can definitely include the name of your brand in a font that's web safe and pretty close to yours. Brilliant, right? Now, one other thing. Rebecca, when she introduced me, mentioned that I'm the chairman of the Email Marketing Council of the DMA. So with that hat on, I'm supposed to only ever talk about best practice. And best practice would be make sure that you have a balance of images and text, right? And clearly Next don't. But guess what? Maybe Next doesn't need to. They're a clothing company. They sell clothes. Clothes are sold through images. Very rarely do you read a description of a shirt and say, ooh, that's the one I want. You want to see the picture, right? So their recipients are used to seeing the images. They want to see the images. They're going to download the images. They're going to put Next in their Safe Sender list so that the images render automatically. Now, I'm not just saying, hey, go out and send gigantic images, but it's definitely worth a test because best practice, especially industry best practice, is all about, it's an average of averages. And I can guarantee that industry best practice is probably not best practice for you and your brand. Okay, but what else can you do if the images are off? Does that guy look familiar? Okay, it's not me. It's Ian Holloway. Actually, I had to grow the beard because Crystal Palace, we're based in Croydon. I'm based in Croydon. And Ian Holloway was hired by Crystal Palace. And like the next day, people started stopping me outside the station saying, who's in the first team this week? What are you talking about? Also, Crystal Palace is one of our favorite clients. But simple thing we've done here, we put a table in behind the image switched off, we colored in the blocks in the table. Hey ho, looks like Ian Holloway. Okay, now this is probably not the most creative use of this approach. We could have put a completely different picture in, right? Something that didn't just look fuzzy. I mean, for those of you who don't wear glasses, that's what Ian Holloway looks like from about 20 yards if you don't have your glasses on. Just fuzzy, right? We could have put something else in there, but it's a great way to deal with what happens if images are switched off. Which leads me nicely into this next example from last minute. Why is it that we have admin-y stuff in our emails, stuff that has to be there? You have to have an unsubscribe link. You have to have a can't read this link. Why do we have to make it boring? Why do we always say, oh, can't read this? Click here. I love what Last Minute's done. Has this email, you probably can't read it, has this email gone a bit Picasso? Yes, it has gone a bit Picasso. Don't worry, we've got a web version that you can see. Just adding a little bit of personality back into your email program. Another way to add a little bit of personality and convenience into the email program is, again, another example from Last Minute. First, in the top right, they're asking you to give them information so that they can make the email more relevant, which is brilliant. Be honest, have we failed to deliver? Did we not give you something you wanted to read? What would you like to read? Tell us. I don't know how many of you have kids, but, nothing frustrates me more than, in the morning, sweetheart, what would you like for breakfast? I don't know. Dad doesn't have the recipe for I don't know. What would you like? Because if I give you something, you're not going to like it. The other one that we get in our house a lot is I'll say to my wife, let's go to a movie. Brilliant. What do you want to see? She says, I don't care. Oh, let's go see Gravity. I don't want to see that. So you do care, right? So give me a little bit of information. I can tailor it down for you. But the other thing they've done, which is genius, is in the top left-hand corner. I hate to burst your bubble, and I hope I'm not breaking any hearts here. None of your readers are sitting, waiting with bated breath for your email to arrive. Nobody is sitting there. Not here yet. No, not here yet. No, not here yet. Okay? your email is almost positively, definitely going to arrive at the wrong time. So what Last Minute has done is said, are you too busy to read this, deal with this now? Cool. When would you like us to remind you about it? We can remind you at lunchtime, or we can remind you before this offer goes off. That's a brilliant idea. You've added convenience, you've added a bit of personality, a bit of personalization. You've recognized that the reader is, doesn't have time to deal with your thing at that moment, and you've given them an option to be reminded so that now they don't have to remember it. They can take it off their plate. One of the things that I mentioned at the start was that kind of all that human element has gone out of shopping. One of the things that every human wants is some recognition as a customer and some validation that the choice they made was the right one. I don't care if you're buying a BMW or a Twix bar. Every time you buy something, you have buyer's remorse, right? You buy the Twix bar, you spent, I don't even know what a Twix bar costs, 90p maybe. And you go outside and you're like, oh, I should have got a Mars, right? This is brilliant, a brilliant example of from Boots. They put your points balance in every email. Look how smart you are. You've got this much, you've shopped with Boots, you've collected this many points. Now you can use them for something. I had a great conversation with somebody that worked at Nectar in the early days, and one of the biggest things they discovered was when Nectar first launched, everybody's like, yeah, it's all right. It's okay. Not that great a program. What did they change? They got the people on the tills to stop asking, would you like to use your points? So that people's points accumulated. And then they got something big, like an entirely free shop. A friend of ours has a Christmas party every year. She saves up all her points and buys the alcohol, spends nothing on the alcohol for the Christmas party, right? Suddenly, it's a big thing. It's a big event. It's a reminder of how smart you've been for shopping at Sainsbury's all year. The other thing that we do too often as marketers is we market in a way that's easy for us, right? So Kohl's here, this is a U.S. department store, they could have just made this an online offer, right? Here's a voucher code. That's easy for them. But they didn't do that. They've also put in a coupon. They're selling clothes. Sometimes you actually want to try the clothes on before you buy them. So they've put in a printable coupon. But even cooler than that, the printable coupon is also printable in black and white. So you don't burn through all your expensive ink on your printer. It's all about, they're thinking about the customer, how to add convenience, how to make the offer easy for them to take up. Okay, we talked about, I mentioned mobile, and how many companies weren't doing mobile well. And to be fair, ASOS isn't doing mobile terribly well. But one of the things they've done here, they don't have a responsive version of their template. At least they didn't when we did this study. But they made the template mobile friendly. But they put their logo and all the important details on the left. That's the first bit you're going to see when it opens up on the mobile device. So you don't have to spend a load of money to make a fully responsive template. Just think about how your email is designed. Think about designing for the finger, right? Don't put lots of links close together. Put in more buttons. Your buttons need to be 40 by 40 pixels at least if you're sending to an iPhone. That's the size of according to Apple, that's the size of a fingertip. But if you want to go down the full route, this is something we've done for Odeon, where we've gone in, we've got a web version, a tablet version, and an email version using responsive design. So depending on the device, the email renders differently. You can render different content, you can and render the content differently. So on an iPhone, you're going to stack the content, whereas on the web and tablet, you've got more space to move it out. But having a mobile template only works if you've got a mobile landing page. So this is an example from Sephora. First off, I have to say, this email design is really, really long, and they couldn't get around it. So one of the cool things they've done as a creative device is they've used these vines to help pull your eye through. You want to see where the vine goes, so you keep scrolling through the email to get to the bottom. I've also been told by my marketing department, that the flowers on the vines match the scents of the perfumes. I don't know if that's true. Sounds cool though. But they also have a mobile version of the landing page. So if I've gone into the mobile version of the email and I go to a mobile version of the website, nothing is more frustrating than seeing a beautifully optimized email on your mobile and then not being able to get to it on the landing page. Okay. Again, adding a bit of personality. I don't think anybody is going to be able to read that one highlighted in yellow. This is an unsubscribe link. Okay? It's usually boring. It's usually something like, don't want to receive these emails? Click here to unsubscribe. Fab has gone a completely different route. Fab has gone with perfectly happy wearing a dirty t-shirt. Click here to get off the list. That's the email equivalent of, you're dumping me, hell no, we cannot be friends. Right? Shows a bit of personality. Shows a bit of, just, it clearly wasn't written by the lawyer. It's just fun. If I read that, I'd be like, actually, no, I'm not happy wearing a dirty t-shirt. I'll stay. Sorry I even thought that. My mistake. So you might have noticed, I haven't talked about one really critical piece of email yet. Does anybody know what it is? Sorry. I think she said, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, I think she said subject line. She didn't say subject line. You shouldn't have shook in your head. Well, whatever you said, it was brilliant. No, I haven't talked about subject lines yet. And I did this as it's a bit of theater, actually. I haven't talked about subject lines yet because too often we save subject lines for the end. We save subject lines for when we're running out of time. And it's, how quick can I dash something out? How can you write an email if you don't know what you're going to write about? Now, I'm not saying you're going to write the perfect subject line at the beginning and then craft your email, but your subject line should come first. This is the creative glue that gets people in, right? That's the first thing that's what's going to make somebody's eyeballs sticky and get them to open your email. And too often we just kind of, what did we use last time? July newsletter. Right, let's use August newsletter. It's November. Don't care. We'll fool them. Maybe that'll get them to open. Now, as I think I mentioned, I've lived here for a long time, going on 13 years. Actually, just over 13 years. But you may have noticed from my accent that I'm not originally from here. I'm originally from the States. And this gives me kind of a unique perspective on the differences in language. Okay? I want you guys to look at these two slides. So, I want you to guess which one of these word clouds came from the UK. How many people think the one on the left came from the UK? Okay, how many people think the one on the right came from the UK? Okay, how many people of you couldn't care less? Oh, a lot of you didn't vote, so it means you're chicken. The one on the left came from the UK. Now, I get it, right? I totally understand about being English and about, not being too American and not being too in your face and not being too, hey, how you doing? But I think we could ratchet it up just a little. I think we could be a little bit more direct. Because we've only got a couple seconds to grab somebody's attention and get them into the email. And then we've only got a couple seconds to grab their attention and get them to click through. And let's face it, folks, if they don't click through, they haven't bought something. Right? So I'm not saying go totally American. One of these, there's one really obnoxious American one in there. I can't remember exactly what it is. But I used to have calls to action in here. And one of my favorite English calls to action was, click here if you would ever like to shop from us at any time. Ooh, okay, thanks. Click here probably would have been better. That's it for me. I did do it in 30 minutes, but I didn't do it quite to get them back on time. I apologize for that. There is absolutely no chance that I'm going to be able to answer questions here because I won't be able to hear you. But we are in stand F26. It's just straight behind you on the left-hand side. Stop by and I'll answer any questions that you might have there. Thank you very much for your time.